to relax it. Will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it, yeah, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie, whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, 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 whoopsies.
I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsie.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see I'm better at this today. Woo!
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard to follow before it's too late. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up. It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. But I know it's hard to follow before it's too dark. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me.
What is up? What is up, you guys? We are here back at it again with another epic day of 100 days of Rootkit. We're gonna continue our journey learning about APIs, all their usefulness, a little bit about HTTP and some of its functionality. All right, specifically posts today. But before we move further and get into it, let us go ahead and finish up with our intro, shall we? Let me go and switch Rooney stuff here. If you don't know, we are Rootkit, nonprofit organization here in the US of A, and we got the world's best computer science certs. All right, come to us, get certified, skip college, skip any other boot camp. They're not even comparable. All right, get our cert, we'll get you a job. All right. On top of all this free epicness we're doing, if you click on our blog tab, you'll see our week 10 giveaway is going on right now. Make sure you fill out that giveaway, all right, so you can get yourself some free merch. There's absolutely nothing you gotta do except press this green button and then show that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, etc., etc. You guys know the deal already, right? Additionally, if you like what we're doing and you want to help support us, because doing things for free is kind of expensive. Where did money come from? You're right. Where did the money come from? There is no money. All right. We need help. All right. So if you click on the link in the description or in the Twitch somewhere. All right. Look, those of you guys watching on Twitch, come on, just come to YouTube like everyone else. All right. It's the superior platform anyways. All right. Just sell your soul to Google. That's what I did. Maybe I might have to resell it to Microsoft here though. Bing kind of popping off a little, but let us move forward. All donations are matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations. So every time you make a donation, it's like you're doing twice as much. Depending on how much you donate, you can unlock certain rewards like our epic stickers, our collab t-shirt, and this epic exclusive 100 Day of Rootkit sweater I got on right now with the Rootkit logo on the back. Super cool. Get yourself one today. Additionally, we got pillars along our way, like teaching for 24 hours straight, shaving my head here live on stream. And the one my mom wants us to really hit, I told her, nah, our goal is not to hit this goal, and that's shaving my beard. I don't know why. They want it gone. I keep telling them that's where all my powers are, but they want them to be gone. So let's see here. Let us continue forward with our journey today. Are there any questions before we continue forward? I guess one last thing, I am in the events chat on the Discord, so if you're a Patreon or Discord premium member for our server, you can jump in the events chat and ask away any questions you'd like verbally. You don't need to type them away like all the normies, all right? Like all the normies. Anything anyone wants to bring up before we chug along? I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds before we continue our journey here with APIs, all right? I love myself some coffee. Drugs, caffeine, yes. All right, I don't see nothing coming through, so we shall continue. Oh, Kamal said, yeah. How you man, Kamal, how you gonna type so last minute, man? How do you mean in supporter chat use your voice? So if you are a supporter, aka subscribe to Patreon or Discord Premium, and technically if you're a champion, so if you're an active volunteer, you will get champion status. That gives you the same perks as paid members. On the Discord, you can, right here I'm in the events chat, so if you click in this voice chat, you'll enter it and then you can chat away and you can talk. All right, you'll also get access to supporter chat, which is a priority text chat. All right, but we don't really mention that because we're live talking right now, so if you want to join in live, you can join in live. All right, yeah, come on. I don't know if you're just like slow to typing in chat or if like your internet's just lagging the stream that bad, but I swear it's always last minute. It's right when I'm about to move on, it's just like it comes in. I like it. All right. Do you have anything else, Kamal? I'm gonna wait like 10 seconds here before we chug on.
Hello?
Oh, look at that. What's up, man?
Oh shit.
Look at that.
I didn't know it worked like that. Man. Okay, all right, bet.
Yeah, you're on the stream. So now you can just ask questions anytime you want. While you're not asking questions, just keep yourself muted.
Okay, perfect.
All right, sweet. Alrighty. So, let us continue on. And if you want me to mute myself in the Discord, let me know, since it might be... I'll go ahead and mute myself in the Discord. That way, you don't hear me on both of them. Alright, so, let me go and zoom in here, because I always gotta zoom out, because it's just too zoomed in when I'm trying to do my normal work, alright? We recapped yesterday. We did 2 things, alright? Thing number 1, we made our server using Flask. All we did was copy and paste some of the default Flask code they gave us. And we just kept on copying and pasting that to make some new endpoints here. Nothing fancy. And we learned about different requests you can do in HTTP. Like the most popular ones, get and post. And by default, you do get posts. All of these are going to be for get posts. Your browser by default does get posts. So your browser can be a very, very useful tool for testing if this stuff is working. All right. Gets are very simple. You just say a website or an endpoint and you'll just get the data. Yo, this feels great. It feels like I'm in an actual class. Go ahead and pay for the premium, guys. Totally worth it. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's, all right. So, what was I saying here? They're all GET requests, so we learned about that. Endpoints, we learned about decorators, which are anything with an @ sign. This is not too common of an occurrence. You'll see. You will see it sometimes, but it's very simple. You just throw it at the beginning of your function, and it will wrap around it and enhance it with some special functionality. Like, for example, it's going to make it a route that you can go to, like /random. All right. And we also showed how you can just not only make a server, but you can also use libraries like requests. You can also use urllib, which is pre-built into Python, but we have access to pip now. So we pip installed requests because it's a little bit easier than urllib, and we can just use it to get data from sites, whether that's an actual website like Wikipedia, and we can just print out all of the text from the Wikipedia page, or from our actual server, where we can get the data, and we're doing everything in JSON format, right? In JSON format, which is a very popular format. So if we say r.json, which is a function, it will return to us a Python dictionary, which then we can use to access any of the data in that JSON data, which is really, really useful. This is the way we learned that a lot of services communicate, because it's language agnostic, right? It's a just transfer of data and things over the internet in a file format. Doesn't matter what language it was written in or what's being sent across. It's just you reading text, right? It's just you reading text from over the interwebs. So get is really great for getting data, but what if we want to send some data, post up some data? Maybe, we want to, for example, if you want to use OpenAI's endpoints, you need to send it the text prompt or maybe the question that you want it to answer. So you have to send some data, and then it needs to give you back an answer, right? We can do that using post. Get is not used for sending data, all right? Get is just meant for getting data. Post is for sending data, but also getting a response. Please put it in. What do you mean by please put it in? All right. So let us continue and figure out how to do this craziness. All right. So first things first, we should set up a endpoint that allows us to do post requests. All right. How do we do that? Well, step number 1, Google. All right. Google is your best friend in the programming world. So let's go ahead and pull up our interwebs here, and let's do Flask and then post. All right, Flask post. And let's see on the first link here if it has some useful information right here. So in our app route, all right, in our app route, I guess there is some extra stuff we can do, an optional argument here called methods. I wonder if we hover over routes here, if it will tell us. No, it does not. I wonder if we type in app.route by itself, it will tell us. Okay, it just says rule and then options. And then options in here, it then gives us some little bit more information. This might not be intuitive for most people, so Googling would probably be your quickest option to figure this out. It looks like we can do a comma after our endpoint here, and then we can use this optional argument called methods to tell it in a list what methods we want it to be available on, right? What methods we want to be available on. And we know by default it's going to have get in here. All right, there are lots of methods available. We're only going to be dealing with get and post, all right? Only with get and post. So if we make a new endpoint here, so I'm just going to copy our code, make a new endpoint here, and we need to give the function a new name and the endpoint a new name. So we'll say post test, all right? Because we're just going to do a test, and we'll call this one our post test also. And remember, the last step we need is comma methods equals an array. And let's make sure it's methods plural, which it is. All right, and in here we can say where we want it available on. We only want this available on post. So we don't need to get, we don't need get in here. We can just put post. So let's just say post, and this should work. So let's go ahead and start up the server, shall we? So let's first, I need to cd into the correct directory here. And then we can run flask tac app main run and tac debug, so we can get that hot reloading going on. There we go. So it looks like it's running. Now again, your browser by default only does get requests. So if we want to visit this, so this is our website right here. We can see we're doing our root endpoint one, which just returns this dictionary here to us. If we want to do our post test, we can try to go to it, but you'll see it doesn't work. All right, it doesn't work. It said method not allowed because your browser by default does a get request. So how can you do a post request? Well, via your browser, not that easily at all. Your solutions are pretty much, you gotta try it in Python here, or you can download third-party applications that allow you to easily test all of these endpoints, right? There are popular applications out there, like for example, one called Postman, which we use here at Rootkit, that you can use in order to quickly test these endpoints that you're making. All right, but we're not going to go too much into this right now because that's kind of diverging too much into front-end / full stack development territory. And this right now we're teaching you for our general comp slicer. All right, general comp slicer. So we're just going an inch deep with this. So since we're not going into Postman, we're going to use Python to test it out and see if it even works. So we know our server's running, and you can even see right here that in the browser we tried to do a get request and it's red because it didn't really work, and we got a 503 error, which 400 means it's going to be a client error. And this may not look like you got an error besides the text on here, but we can also do the right click and inspect like I showed you guys yesterday. And if you go in here into network, and if I zoom in a little bit, this will give you this will show you everything your computer is sending over the network when loading this page. If you refresh, you'll see that this page actually sent you a 405, which is the same that Flask is telling you right here, a 405 error, All right, just showing you how these are all, synced up. All All right, let me go ahead and shrink that down. And let's go back here. So remember, if we want to run this other Python file to be querying our endpoints here, we need to click this plus button to open a new terminal. Once we've opened that new terminal, cd into the directory if you need to. I do, so I got a cd into APIs here. Then we can execute this this file, but we're missing something. We're missing our post request. Also, I don't really want all of this stuff to execute here, so I'm just gonna go to the top here. I'm gonna say exit right here, so that way the rest of the stuff doesn't execute. You could just comment it out. All right, I'm just gonna do this. Wait, how do you pull up the page that shows what Python is sending over the network? I missed it. All right, so again, it's going to be on, this works on every single web page, right? This is just a browser tool. If you right click at the very bottom, you should get some type of button here called inspect, right? If you're on a different browser than Edge or Chrome, then inspect may be somewhere else. It may say inspect element. All right, click on that, and then in here there will be a tab called network. You can click on that tab and then just refresh your page. All right, let us continue on, shall we? All right, so I'm just gonna put an exit here. You guys could comment this out. All right, totally up to you. You could comment this out. I'm just gonna put an exit. So right here, we want to do our post request, all right, our post request. So what we can do is copy maybe one of our get requests down here. And we saw the other day when we do requests dot post was available here. Pretty much every HTTP method is here. So if we do dot patch, that's going to be here, and dot put, that's going to be here. If you don't know about those ones, don't really worry about it. Just know that pretty much all the HTTP methods are just available as a dot, and then you do what method you want. So we have dot post available. So it's pretty much just that easy. We want to do a post request, we say dot post. Remember, we got to do dot post at the correct endpoint. Right now we're at the root endpoint. So we need to do it at what endpoint? The post test endpoint. So let's put post test here at the end. All right. And we're getting the response back. Let's print out what we get here. All right, let's print out what we get. So let's do a print, and we're going to be returning a random number, just like our random one. And that's going to be in JSON format. So we can do r.json, and we can just print that out. And we should be able to see what we return. So I'll go ahead and do Python use API and press enter. And look at that. We are successful. We did a post request. I know, very underwhelming. Looks just like a get request. It does. We're not using the special functionality that post allows yet, which is sending data. We're using it in more of a capacity like a get request. We can also really see and verify this was a post request if we click back over to Flask. All right, if we click back over to Flask and look at the logs here, you'll see that there was a post request sent to /post test, and it gave us a 200, which means it was successful. And we got our data here. This was the request we made. It was successfully a post request. We did the things, all right? Now you might ask yourself, why would you want to use a GET request if it doesn't have as many features as a POST request? If POST requests can do everything a GET request can, but more. Great question. More is not always better. The American way is have more, have bigger. That does not mean it's the best way to live your life. Same thing in programming. Just because you can do more does not mean it's better. All right? You have downfalls with the POST request. Number one, your browser doesn't do it by default. All right? Number two, it's more expensive, potentially more expensive. All right? A more expensive request because there are a lot more options that are going on, so a lot more to consider. So it takes more compute power. GET requests are very dumb, very simple, but very, very fast. Again, remember, we're sending stuff over the network, over the wire. This is extremely limited on your bandwidth, right? You don't know what other people have as their bandwidth. If you're trying to make services for people, if you're trying to do it in a very densely populated country that is like, classified as, what's the word for it? I'm forgetting the technical term, but a rich country, UK, England, most European countries, you can guarantee they'll have pretty decent internet. If you're trying to make services for a lot of Asian countries or African countries, or even some South American countries, they may not have the best internet. So you need to make sure you're making your services as optimal and fast as possible, because you can't be chewing up all their bandwidth if they have very, very little in the first place. All right. So post requests, only use them when needed. Post requests allow you to send data. If we hover over our post request thing right here, you'll see we get a bunch of options that are available to us. We may not know what all these mean, but we know that we can send data, and we see this thing called data. We also see this thing called JSON. So I wonder what each one of those could be for. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, but remember, you can always Google this later if you don't remember. Data is for any type of data: binary data, text data, XML data, JSON data. Any type of data you can put here into data. JSON is going to be for only JSON data, which if memory serves me correct, you can just put a Python dictionary in here and it will automatically convert it to JSON for you. But on top of that, there's some extra things you have to do in regards to headers, where you have to tell it that you're sending JSON data. It does it all automatically for you, because you can send binary or XML data, but there's a couple extra steps that you need to do to convey that you're sending that appropriately. If you remember, I'm not going to go over those steps, but if you remember, I talked about if we click on like a file here, and on the response headers or on the request headers, you'll usually see a section here called accept or content type. This is going to tell you what the data's content is. So this says text HTML. This says text HTML. If you're going to send binary data, or if you're going to send JSON data, or if you're going to send, XML data, you need to make sure you're setting this content type appropriately, right? Appropriately. So it would be text data. XML is text data. So it would be text/XML. I'm pretty sure that's the right code for it. Binary data, there's a bunch of them. You can look up, if you don't have these memorized, which I don't even have them memorized, you can just look them up. HTTP content type. All right. And look at that. Good old Mozilla, first link right here. And they'll have a whole list of all the different content types and some browser compatibility. All right. Some browser compatibility. Why is this not listing all of the content types? Here we go. They're based off the MIMI types, I believe. So there we go. We got audio, example, font, image, model, text, and video. These are like the first part, and then you do slash and then say what the second part is. So here's image /JPEG, JPEG /PNG/SVG. This happens every time behind the scenes. So for example, here's the logo right here. Is it not going to let me? Maybe not. Let's go right here. Here we go. Here's a picture. If I open this picture in a new tab and then do inspect, and we look at the network and do a refresh so we can see this picture right here, you'll see that this picture, for its type, is going to be... Why are you messing up my example? Always with these live examples, it's messing up. So you can see our request here was HTML. It should have image / what is this, a JPEG? I think it's because it was at a CDN. It doesn't work really well. Okay, hold on. I got a better example that I know will work. Let's go to the Rootkit site and go to the Rootkit logo. Look at that beautiful logo. And then let's go ahead and inspect this. And let's go to network, refresh. And okay, whatever. Just trust me, all right? Just trust me. You'll see it there, all right? We're gonna move on from this embarrassment, all right? And we're gonna continue on here with our goals, all right? With our goals. We can forget all of that. All right. So we can add data. Now the next question is, if we can do something as easy as JSON equals, and maybe we have a dictionary here that says, I don't know, fave number. My favorite number today is gonna be 420, all right? So, favorite number. We know we can pass a dictionary. You can do it inline right here, or you can do it as a variable. So you can be like, my JSON data equals, all right? And you can make the dictionary beforehand. Remember, JSON and dictionaries, even though they look the same, they are completely different. JSON, the first part of JSON is JavaScript. It is JavaScript based. It is native for JavaScript. Python dictionaries just conveniently look like JSON data. It's just a coincidence, right? It's just a coincidence. All right, so if it's that easy to send some JSON data, we can run this and it works. We're not doing anything with this JSON data though, that we're sending off. And that's gonna be on the server. So we go back to the server needs to accept that data and actually do something with it. It's accepting the request and returning something, but it sees there's data there and it's like, I'm just gonna ignore it because I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. So let's use that data. How do we use that data? That's a great question, all right? That's a great question because it's not clear right here at all, all right? It's not clear right here at all, all right? And this is kind of the weirdness of Flask. This will depend on what you're using, whether you're using Fast API or Flask, all right? This Fast API is another popular alternative to Flask, all right? This will change, all right? This may change. For Flask, you need to use this thing called request. So you'll see here, it's kind of hidden, but in your import statement at the top, we're importing Flask right now, all right? We got from Flask, import Flask. We also need this extra thing called request. So if we do a comma and then request right here, this will store this will automatically, or should I say auto-magically, have all the data from the request that our other file is sending. So that data it's sending, it will automatically have that data in requests here, right? So if we go to our post test here and we want to see what that data is, can we please let the print work? I don't know if print will work here because it's a little weird, but we can try to print requests right here and see when we do our post request now. Our post request was successful. Let's click on the Flask server and see if anything prints out. Oh, thank God it is working. You can see right here that we got a printout of this thing called request. I wonder what request has attached to it. If we do a dot, we can see request has a bunch of stuff attached to it. We can look through here and maybe find something that is useful. All right, like I see get JSON there, get data. I see this other thing called JSON. So there's a bunch of stuff here that we could potentially use. So we know we're sending JSON data, so maybe we should use something for JSON. There is just a .json here, all right? And it looks like this is just a property. So if we just say request.json, would that work? Looks like our server hot reloaded. So let's click on our other tab and let's rerun our post request again. And it went through. So let's see what printed out this time. Oh, look at there. I guess we were on the right track. Our fave number 420 is right here, which is what we sent in this file. We sent fave number 420. So we successfully chucked some data across the interwebs to our server, intercepted that data, and then printed it out on the console. All right. So you use this special thing called requests, right? Special variable called requests that's pre-built into Flask. It auto-magically intercepts that data for you, and then you can do something with it. If you're sending JSON data, you can do .json and then get access to that data. And by default, it will be in a dictionary array, right? It will be in a dictionary, not a dictionary array. So with this, we can have some fun. We can now work and do some operations on what they gave us. So we could do something like, we know they're supposed to send us their favorite number. So if we do request.json, and we want their fave number, we maybe want to like multiply it by, I don't know. No, let's not even multiply it. Let's just return a string that says, hey, I like your favorite number. All right. Remember, to send back data in proper JSON format, we must return a dictionary or an array. So you can't just do a blank string, right? You can't just do a blank string. You got to do a dictionary or an array. So if we're doing a dictionary, we have to have some type of key value. So for this key value, you can just think of a generic thing, like maybe response or result, right? Something very generic. All right, here's the result of your request. The result of your request was a string, all right, that says your fave number was blank dot format, and then we can just put their favorite number right here. All right, so now when they hit this request, all right, and they send their favorite number, we'll respond with result, your favorite number was, and then their favorite number. So if we go back here to our our using API file, and we want to chuck over another request. So let's go in and chuck this over. You'll see that now we get a different response here. We get a response that says, results, your favorite number was 420. And this is dynamic. So if we change this number to something else, and we resend this request, look at that. Our number is now different. So this shows how you can do live computing on data they send over and then give some type of results. How is this useful? This is really, really useful. If you want to make services like a Facebook clone, a Twitter clone, everyone and their dog wants to remake Twitter right now, so why not you? All right, someone wants to do a tweet, they can say, you know, my tweet, all right, and I said, everyone needs to burn in hell. Pretty normal tweet on Twitter, all right? Totally not a toxic cesspool. All right, so in here, then we can send over our tweet, and you'll see that it doesn't work though. It doesn't work. We'll get a big error. Why do we get a big error? Well, in our server, we are expecting something called favorite number, and we're not sending a fave number right now. So you need to handle this stuff, all right? Or else it will error out, and it will error out big time. Did it right here? You can see a big error on the server, key error because fave number doesn't exist. So we need to change this to tweet, all right? We need to change this to tweet, and then we can try to resend it. Oops. And then when we resend it, we'll get back that our result, your fave number, was everyone needs to burn in hell. So this, again, could be very useful because you have a user that tweets or whatever you want to make. You intercept that data on your server. Your server may want to save that then on their databases or whatever logic you may want to do. And then you don't have to return back the whole tweet. You can just return back something that says, you're good, we saved it, everything worked successfully. Or you could return back, if they didn't send you things in the correct fashion, hey buddy, you messed up. You shouldn't be erroring out though. You shouldn't be erroring out. So we're gonna go over how to handle those errors, right? Before we do that, what questions do you guys have so far? All right. I know we haven't talked about databases yet in this class, so don't worry about them too much right now. We're kind of teasing them and how they can potentially be useful. As an alternative to a database, you guys do know files, how to open a file and save data to a file, append to a file. A file is a database, so you can store your tweets to a file if you wanted, right? So every time someone sends a request, you could inside here open a file, write it to a file, and then bam. Can you go back to main real quick? I'm trying to figure out something real quick. Yep, I'm here in main for the tweet part. There you go. Remember, this needs to always be matched up correctly. I'll show you guys here in a second how not to get those errors. And actually, with the tweet example, I'm gonna complete it out using a file as a database because I want to show the whole more powerful concept of this. And it will only take like 5 minutes. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Any other questions before we continue on here? I'm going to press enter on these ones so we don't need to be distracted by them because we're just focusing on our post test right here right now. I guess I'll do the same thing with this. All right, Kamal, your time's up. All right, we're continuing on here. So I just want to finish up before I show how to handle these errors. I want to show without using a proper database, just a text file, how to go about, seeing this in a more useful fashion. All right. So we have a way for people to tweet per se. All right. We're going to go with the Twitter clone concept. So we want to save it to a file every time someone tweets. So what we can do here is open a file. So we're going to want to open and then a file. Let's call this our tweets.txt. All right, our tweets.txt, and this is going to be a file that we've just opened, and we need to also say the mode that we've opened it in, and we want to open it in a append mode because every time someone tweets, we just want to add it to the tweet log. All right, so in here, we'll go ahead and do file dot write, and then we'll just write the new tweet. So we'll take this right here because this is the tweet they sent us, and we'll go ahead and write that. And then remember, we got to close our file. So we'll go and close the file. All right, so now we're saving stuff to tweets. Hopefully this, I can't remember if append will create a file if it doesn't exist. We'll see here in a second because it will error out. So let's go ahead and rerun our code here and do a tweet and see if it works. And it looks like it worked. Oh, and it created the file, the tweets.txt. This is our current database. All right, this is our current database. And we can send these tweets multiple times. And we can see here that now it's in here twice. This is a little bit of error because I do want each one to be on its own new line. So let's go ahead and change this right to be that, and then a new line. All right, so and then our return here can be something more simple. We can just send success. All right, success. All right, so if we run this, there we go, we ran that once. Let's do some different tweets here. I like trees, and then we'll do the I don't know what's something else that's toxic on. I guess right now what's trending is Mr. Beast is trash, I guess, since he likes being charitable. He's a piece of garbage, so we'll go ahead and say that. We'll tweet that out. Because we can't have anyone being more charitable than us. All right. So what's something else? What's some toxic shit up there? Let's see. I'm toxic. There we go. That's an appropriate tweet. If you guys don't use Twitter, good. Never. If you're using Twitter right now, get off of it. You're being dumb. We just have a Twitter because it's a part of the checklist of things you need to have, but we don't use it at all. Besides auto posting that we use a third-party platform for. All right. So we just tweeted a bunch. And you can see here, there's a lot of tweets here in our quote-unquote database, right? To make this a complete product, when you do tweet, or if it's, you know, you're more used to Instagram or whatever, that's like half of it. The other half is you need to be able to retrieve all of these. You need to get them back so you can view them on your feed and be addicted to liking them or whatever you want to do that day, all right? So we need to build the second part. When you want to get data, that's right, you do a GET request. So if we go ahead and copy our code here, we can go ahead and do a GET request instead, which is what's done by default. And this we'll just call GET tweet. All right. And this we'll call GET tweet, because remember, you got to rename your functions. You can't have two functions named the same thing. So in here, instead, we're going to open the file, but we're going to open it in not append mode, in read mode. And then we're going to do file.readLines, which will automatically read all the lines in the file and give us an array, right? An array. You know what we can do? We can return arrays straight up, all right? So if we do, let's call this our just data, just something very generic, right? So we're gonna read the file, put it in data, close our file, then we're gonna return a result, and the result is just going to be an array of all of the tweets, all right? Or an array of all of the tweets. So we just made this new endpoint. So now people can post, and people can now get all of the tweets for viewing on their feed. So if we go back here, we can see we can post, but we also want to get. So let's make another request called get right below. And this is going to be for getting our tweets. We're not sending any JSON data because you don't do that in get requests. And then we're going to want to print the r.json that we get back. So this will print out the results that we get back, the tweets that are sent back to us. So what's happening right now in our program is once we tweet, it will send that data off. It will be saved in a file by the server. And then we're going to ask the server for all of the tweets, and it's going to give us all the tweets in that file or in that database, right? So let's kind of see this in action. Let's think of another toxic tweet here. I don't know. I'm thinking of great things, but I don't know if I should put them on stream. People are a little wild up there, all right? I had to make a program for doing tweet stuff and analysis, and this is also when like Parler was a big alternative. That was the worst month of my life. Literally just seeing all the crap people are posting, it just messes with your head. You sit there and you're like, God, there's no future for the world. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. How about something with minorities? Let's do, I don't know, something very simple, like kill minorities. All right, very, very peaceful, full of hope. All right, that's what Twitter is all about. So let's go ahead and run this non-controversial tweet. All right, and you'll see we get a result success. And the second one, so our tweet was successful here. JSON decode. So there was an issue with our JSON being decoded here. Data, read lines should be a list of strings. So I'm not quite sure what the error was there, but we can do instead of forcing a JSON output, there is the option of text. So let's just rerun it with text to see maybe what's the issue going on. So this time we'll just do something else that's maybe a little more controversial, all right? Because we covered the minorities, at least here in the US. So we gotta do next white people. And maybe if this doesn't work, we'll do police next, all right? Normal things you see on Twitter. So let's run this again. And we get, here we go. All right. To run the API, something different on the terminal of Mac doesn't work. Says you need to do Python 3. All right, you got to do Python 3 for Mac and Linux most typically. So if we see here, we're getting a 404 error. All right, we're getting a 404 error. So I wonder if our endpoint here is typed wrong. It is. It's supposed to be get tweet, not get tweets. So let's just copy that and paste it right here. If we change this back to JSON, we'll go ahead and do that. And then next, we'll go and kill some more people here. Let's go and kill the police. All right, we'll put an exclamation mark there. All right, so let's rerun this. And we got our tweet went up successfully. Oh, there we go. We got an entire list returned to us full of tweets that we can now look at. All right, we have successfully made a Twitter clone. All right, not that hard. And we have all the right people recruited on the platform right now. All right, all the perfect toxic cesspool people on that platform. All right, this is great, absolutely great. If you go on Twitter right now, you'll see these exact tweets. I swear it. I swear it. When I had to go through that period of analyzing tweet stuff, I had to get good examples for basically mass sentiment analysis. So making a product that will sweep through media and XYZ and do sentiment analysis. Basically tell you if people are being positive, negative, pro-US, anti-US, if they're full of hate, love, XYZ, you name it. Just a whole status report. I get some good like data for the presentations and stuff. Oh man, got some Jew killing stuff in there, and hopefully YouTube doesn't take this video down because I'm mentioning normal tweets. But oh man, it's such a great place, that cesspool. Don't go to Twitter. It's so bad. But yeah, any questions so far? Did that work for you, Kamal? It should be Python 3. You're in voice, you know, you could, it'd be probably quicker if you just unmute and just respond. You can do that. All right, you got it. Perfect. All right, perfect. So the point of this, we're next going to show how you can handle errors and stuff. But the point of this is to kind of show that concept. Since we haven't hit databases yet, you can use a file. They're the same thing as databases. All a database is saving everything to a file in a more structured format, but you can get the same result with a text file, right? But this is effectively how the internet as a whole literally works, right? You get some requests to get data, some requests to send data, and the database will store it all, and then you can do requests to get things like fill up someone's feed, and then you can see the feed here. And of course, you can make this look a little nicer. So for our JSON format, we know everything is in results. So let's not tweet anymore because we're gonna get hashtag canceled. So let's go right here and let's do a for tweet in r.json, and we know this is going to give us a dictionary. So if we do our brackets, we can access the dictionary. Everything is going to be inside of results. So we'll go ahead and put results right here. All right, so this will go through every tweet in our result array, and we can do print tweet, and let's comment out this one. And then if we resend this, you're gonna see we get a nicer layout of our tweets. All right, so now we can just throw up some profile pictures, some usernames, and maybe a button for liking and retweeting. And pretty much you can see that that's the GUI. All right, that stuff is what you see on the GUI. Python is not a language you want to make GUIs with, all right? You want to use GUI, you want to make GUIs with languages like C#, which is going to integrate with Windows native rendering crap, all right, for the Windows GUI. Or if you're on Mac OS, you want to use Swift. Or if you want to do everything at once, you can use HTML and CSS and JavaScript, right, to make a pretty GUI. Or you can use this in your game servers also. If you're making a game, you can... Games are written in programming languages just like everything else. Anything that you see here can be done in a game, and they are done in a game. When you use login services in your game, when you see chat features in your game, it's doing the exact same thing we just showed here. The exact same thing. There's pretty much no difference. Besides, most likely it's getting saved to an actual database, not a text file, all right? I didn't want to bother your session. That's the whole point. That's the whole point I'm in the voice chat, is for you guys to ask things verbally, all right? Didn't want to bother. Get out of here. Might as well just not be in the voice chat. Okay, so let's talk about errors and how to handle them after the break, because it's about time to go on break, all right? And we might need to go on a little bit of a break here because we just got hashtag canceled, or maybe not, depending on what types of group you're in. You might be hashtag praised, all right? You never know about Twitter. But let us see here. Any other questions before we go on a break? During the break, you guys can ask any questions. We'll be taking a break for 3 to 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how to handle errors on the server side of things, but also on the user side of things, right? On the server side and on the user side of things. And maybe, just maybe, I might generate an API token for us to mess with ChatGPT a little bit. All right? Well, not ChatGPT. We'll mess with normal GPT. Here live on stream, generate a new token. I'll try to hide it so you guys don't... I'm not streaming it everywhere. I'm going to replace it right after, because I don't want you guys racking up me a sky-high rocket bill. All right? All right, I don't see any questions right now, so we're going to go on break. We'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes. I will see you guys then. Alrighty, we are back. Let me turn that down just a tad. Alrighty, I hope you guys are ready to continue our journey here. But before we do, just a quick recap. If you're not tracking, we are a Rootkit nonprofit organization here in the US of A. Don't go to college. Don't go to any other boot camp. We're teaching you everything you're going to learn in college and more. There's a reason why we're the industry's best CompSci cert. All right? Just learn here. Get certified and then get a job. It's just that simple. All right? It's just that simple. On top of all this free stuff we're doing, if you go over to our blog here, you can see we got our week 10 giveaway going on right now. Make sure you enter to win. We're giving away some merch. What is it? I don't even know. We're going to figure it out together on Sunday. We're randomly going to pull a number and that will correlate with some merch. All right. Click the green button here in order to enter. All you got to do is prove that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, following on Twitch, yada, yada, just really basic stuff. If you like what you're doing and you like what we're doing and you want to help support us, doing stuff for free is kind of expensive. All right. Money got to come from somewhere. And it ain't really come from anywhere right now besides our generous supporters over on Patreon and Discord premium members, which if you are, you can go over to the Discord right now. We're in the events chat and you can chat along. All right. Don't need to type. All right. You can just chat in there. But if you would like to help support us, all donations are being matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations right here. This link can be found in the description of the video, or if you're on Twitch, somewhere in the description. All right. If you donate, depending on how much you donate, you can unlock certain rewards like our epic stickers, our collab t-shirt, or this epic sweater I got on right now. Got the Rootkit logo on the back. It is extra thick, extra warm, and my God, I am extra dying in it. All right. So we have pillars along the way, like streaming for 24 hours straight, shaving my head here live on stream, and the goal that no one wants to see is hit, except my mom, all right? Shaving my beard here live on stream, all right? We don't need to hit those, so don't worry. Well, the last one we don't need. The rest of them we do want to hit, all right? But the last one we don't need to hit. So help us out. Donate today. All donations matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000. So let us continue on our journey here. Next, we're going to continue on and learn about how to deal with errors. But before that, we might have to kick someone from chat because over the span of the break, on our Twitter here, a new thing has been trending, and that's cancel Kamal. So I'm sorry, Kamal, you're gonna have to get kicked now. All right, we can't. Random people I don't know, they said it. All right, it was done 1,000 times. So those 1,000 people I very much value more than you. So now you're gone. Out of here. All right. Successfully cancel him. All right. He's not here anymore, right? Oh, crap. He's still here. All right. Well, our canceling didn't work very well. I guess we'll just have to continue for now. All right. We'll have to continue for now. So, errors. There are errors that you can get. And errors are no bueno. Anytime there's an error in the hacker's mind, they will see gold. Anytime there's something that bugs out and causes something to freak out, an error to spawn, some unexpected behavior that's not handled, that is gold for a hacker, right? Because that shows you didn't do something properly as a dev. So what do we have right now that errors? Well, if we want to send some data, all right, if we want to send some data, I'm going to comment this second section out because we're not going to retrieve our tweets. We're just for sending data. The key thing is there, sending data. What did I tell you guys your number one enemy is? Number one enemy as a developer. That's right, the user. The users are the worst people in the world. All right, they're sick, twisted individuals who will just do things that will break everything you've created. All right, they will tear everything down. All right, just by being themselves. All right, now we have to protect them from themselves. How do we do that? We gotta be a good dev. All right, it's a requirement. All right, right now we're not being a good dev because if we don't send a tweet, instead let's send I don't know, I don't know, let's send a like. We like something. True. All right, we're liking something. We're going to send this instead. When we send this, you'll see that everything breaks. All right, everything breaks. Not just on the front end here, but also on the server side. The server side is breaking. All right, it's freaking out. It's like, what are you sending me? Why is it doing this? Great question. If we look at where we liked to, this is at the post test endpoint. If we go over to the post test endpoint, we are opening a file. Then we're trying to write some data. What data? Is the tweet. We're expecting the tweet. Well, they're not sending us a tweet anymore. This has gone awry. How do we figure out before the fact if they sent us the right data or not? And how do we handle it more gracefully? Right? How do we handle it more gracefully? For example, we saw visually here, this was handled gracefully. We got a nice message back. All right, it sent the proper error code to us. All right, nothing crashed and burned. We want to handle it gracefully like this. How do we go about doing that? Great question. It's not too difficult. Kind of manual, but not difficult. In programming, so this specific situation can be solved numerous different ways, but we're going to use this to show off try and catch statements, or try and except in Python, right? Different languages will call this concept different things. Try and catch is one of the more common ones, but in Python it's called try and except. This is a way for you to try code that might error out, and if it does error and break, you can handle it gracefully, all right? Try and except should be the big terms for you here. Try is the first part, and inside of try, that's where we're going to try something. We're going to try something that may break, right? But we still want to try it. We want to attempt it. If it does break, then we want to accept that and do something else, all right? So try is literally called try, all in lowercase, and then we're going to put our little but at the end, our colon, all right? Then we're going to tab everything up under it that we want to try, that we want to attempt. So we want to attempt to do this stuff. Now, try here is not going to be happy because try is going to say that we need at least one except and a finally if we want, all right? We want to add an except, and this except is except like this, so everything except, right? And in here, if things fail, we can just print it failed, all right? But not only do we want to print that it failed, our return right here will always return success. So this is an issue. We'll show that off here in a second because we don't want to return success if it failed, but we'll get to that in a second. So try and accept is pretty much this easy to use, right? Try and then accept. Accept also allows you to be more specific. So for example, you can have infinite accepts after a try. All right, you can have infinite accepts after the try. Even though it's erroring right now, it's erroring because every accept that you have, you can list what error you want to accept. So for example, a type error, right? What are these errors? How do I know type error is an error? Well, you guys should have seen lots of errors so far. Lots of errors in your Python code happened so far. In the stream, lots of errors have happened. Every time an error happens, in the error output, look at that, there's some error output right here. At the end of it, they'll tell you what type of error was. This was a syntax error. So with except, you can become very fine-grained. If a syntax error happened, I can have one thing happen in response. If a type error happened, I could do something else in response. So if I can have a syntax error. So if a type error happens, this will happen in response. If a syntax error happens, this will happen in response instead, all right? So you can be very fine-grained with what you accept. Or if you don't really care, if you just want to run one thing on everything, then you can just have accept by itself, or you can do except exception. This means everything. This also means everything. All right, these are pretty much the same. All right, with nothing and with something, this is pretty much the exact same thing. You will most commonly see something like this, exception, and then as e. What does as mean? Well, you've seen it before. As is a renaming of it. So we're renaming this to e, just inside of here. And then you'll usually see people will print out he so they can see the variable. Because when you accept something, it will no longer print and show that error because you're handling it gracefully. You're handling it gracefully. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens when we error. So this will cause an error right now because we're sending over a like, right? So if we go over to this one and we run this, we'll still get an error on this side of stuff, or never mind, we won't, because it will say everything ran successfully. That's a lie, it didn't. If we go over to Flask, you can see it says it failed. All right, so there's an issue with our code right now because when we do this and this errors out, it says it failed. We're still always returning success. We'll get to that in a second. To finish up here on why we do as e, all right, or you can do as anything. You could say as error. You know, this is any type of variable. This is useful if you want to print out what that error was, so you can see it in your logs here. Because all we can see here is that it failed. We don't know why it failed, but it failed. So if we print error out and we rerun this, we'll now see what the error was. The error was tweet. Not very useful. All right, not very useful. There are ways to, there we go, with traceback. All right, so if we do a dot at the end, you can see there's this thing called with traceback. It looks like it's a function. So we need to have our two parentheses right here. So if we rerun it now, we should get a more detailed result. Here we go. We got our more detailed results. Takes one argument, 0 given. Never mind. We got an error with using this. So we're just going to remove this right now. There are ways to become more and more specific, right? There's ways to become more and more specific with what you see on the error output. All right, everything that you see by default with the error output, you can reprint. But the big thing is it is now handled gracefully. Things don't crash, things don't freak out, things don't break, all right? It's handled gracefully. So this is one way for you guys to go about doing this, all right? Try and accept are not the most ideal things to do when it comes to error handling. Why? Because they rely on an interrupt happening. Remember interrupts when we talked about them back in our fundamentals? All right, it was towards the end of it. Interrupts are very violent interrupting processes that happen on your computer. They are very, very violent. All right, they are not a fast operation. They are very slow. It causes a lot of things to kind of get backed up. All right, so this will work, but this is a very slow way of accepting it. There are better ways to go about this that would be faster. Might include more code, but executing more code would be faster than handling exceptions. All right, this is just an easy way to do it. All right. Can you pull up the API file for 30 seconds? This is the API file. Or you're talking about using API? Yeah, we'll get there in just a second. Because we're just finishing up with this. So in here, we know there's one issue. When we run this, it says success, even though it failed. So we should no longer be returning success. So what we can do instead is inside of accept here, we can return, and then instead of returning success, we can return failed. All right? Again, this is just some arbitrary data we made up. You don't actually have to send this. All right? I'll show you here in a second the more meaningful thing and why this is more arbitrary. So if we rerun this, you'll see now that it says result failed, which is the appropriate response that we wanted. Because remember, in a function, So you see def, that's how you know we're in a function. Return will immediately end the function. So when we hit the return here, it will immediately end the function. All right, we've talked about this stuff before. You know, this is the same whether it's a function or a method. The return will end the function immediately. It's the equivalent of doing exit. All right, not really, because it will only stop the function. It won't stop the whole program. Exit will stop the entire program. Okay, so now we can see this. There's one last issue, because you can see here, it failed, and our request was a post request, but it gave a 200 message. It gave a 200 message, which if you remember, the 200 message means good, success. This is not a success. This is a failure. Who failed us? Who failed us in this case? Well, some of you might say the server failed us because it errored out. Some of you might say the client, because the client sent us the wrong data. Who really failed us? The answer is the client. The server is the one and true God when it comes to this request. You must obey what the server requires. You must give the server what it wants. What it wants right now is something called a tweet. If you don't do that, then it is not failing you. You are failing yourself. All right? So this is going to be a client error. A client error, if you don't remember, is going to be anything from 400 to 499. You can look at some of the ones that exist, or you can just pull one out of thin air. All right? What do I mean by that? Those numbers are arbitrary. 404 is agreed upon as not found, but you can use any 400 number. It's so arbitrary that they don't even have most of them labeled. What do I mean by that? If we go to HTTP response codes, and we look here in the client error responses, you'll see that these are the most common ones. All right, so if you do a 400, by default, your browser will say it was a bad request. But you can use anything for it. And you'll see that only up to 431. 431 have commonly associated terms with it. These are commonly associated terms. All right? You don't have to use them for their designated purpose. They're just commonly associated. And it's only up to 431, and then it jumps to 451, and all the rest up to 499 you can use for whatever you want. All right, how do we go about doing our own custom response codes? Well, if we go back to our Flask API here, Flask API, so we go back to our Flask docs and go to the tutorial. This was not the tutorial we were following. I think it was the minimal application. So we use this base right here, but if we scroll down a little bit more, I think they'll have some more examples here. All right, if we can't find it, you can always Google. How would you go about Googling this? Well, we know these are called response statuses. So maybe try Flask custom response status. So we got a Stack Overflow link. Let's click on this, and it says right here you can do this return response thing. That's weird. This render template, they're just doing a comma 201. Ooh, this is more close to what we're doing. It looks like we can just do a comma right after our results and then just say 204, or a comma right after our dictionary, or a comma right after array, and just say what it is. So let's try that. Right after our return here, our dictionary, let's just do a comma, and let's say, I don't know, 400. You can do any number here. It could be 1, 2, 3. You can do anything you want. To make it most understandable to as many people as possible, you'd want to choose the correct client code for this. All right. So just to show you can do whatever you want, let's just do 400. So now when we rerun this, you will notice nothing different here on your response. But the code is now a 400 code. And you can see now it's red because 400 is associated with something went wrong. All right. So now it's a 400 code. This is on you. You can just leave it as 400 or put in a random 400 thing that you want, or you can go over here to the HTTP statuses and look for one that is more appropriate. So they sent us the wrong data. The client sent us the wrong data, which I guess 400 is perfect because 400 means bad request. They did send us a bad request because they sent us the wrong data. And you can see here the description for it is the server cannot or will not process the request due to something that is perceived to be a client error. Example, malform request syntax, invalid message request message framing, or deceptive request routing. All right, they sent us malformed request syntax, or if you want, yes, it's bad data. Malformed means wrong. Request, they sent a request, a post request to us. Syntax means the layout of it, right? The layout of it, in this case, wasn't wrong. Well, it was wrong because, I mean, they sent us a like instead of a tweet, right? So it was wrong. It was malformed. So it was a bad request. They sent us bad requests. This can be whatever you want, though. Like I said, you could have 4, 1, 2, 3. Oh, not 1, 2, 3. There we go. And now if we resend this request, you'll see that it will have a status code of 412, right? Data is data. It's arbitrary. It's just what people have agreed to interpret it as, right? So we can say here, instead, we'll just change it to 400. And by default in Flask, everything will be a 200. So in here, you can explicitly say 200, but by default, it will be a 200. It will assume success. So that is everything for the server side, right? In protecting, right? Again, usually a lot of the protection, the validation you want to do will be on any user input because users are evil, but you need users because users give you money, all right? So it's a necessary evil. Were you gonna say something? You're unmuted. Come on.
My error code stays as 400.
Your
Yeah,
error,
I'll just
your error code's 400. Milo says better than
yeah.
Django.
Sorry, the stream is a little slower. So
Yeah, you're good. Hold on. Milo says better than Django. Django is meant for web development. It's not really meant for API creation. All right, it's not really meant for API creation. All right. So what was your question, Kamal?
So I tried changing it. So when you change it to 400, but for me, the error code stays as 404. It says, HTTP/1.
So make sure you're hitting the right endpoint. So we're doing everything right now on post test. And make sure you have a comma and then 400.
Does it matter if it's on the same line?
No, it just needs to be a comma after the dictionary here.
Okay, yeah, I have a comma. Oh, I don't have the curly brackets though. I think that might be it.
Yeah, make sure you have those. All right, so the big concept here. Sorry, that was the wrong mute I did there.
You're muted in the YouTube.
Yeah, There we go. All right, so that's right, try and accept. Sorry about that, you guys. Try and accept. New Python concept, very important for you guys to memorize. Just use it. Use it. Don't feel afraid to use it. Just don't let it be your only crutch, because there are other ways to do input validation than waiting until an exception happens, right? There's other ways to do it. We've done, up until this point, we've shown lots of ways on how to do input validation without tries and accepts. So you guys have seen so far that it is very much possible to do it. All right. This is the first time we've introduced it, and I've waited for a while because I want to show you guys lots of examples on how you can go about sanitizing input properly without using tries and accepts. All right. So let us go to the user side. All right. The user side. The errors we were getting before is that not all the time here were we getting JSON data back validly. Half because our server was messed up and we finally fixed it. But now we're getting, it should always be consistent, but you never know, right? The error we were getting before is we were getting, it looked like HTML data, and it was trying to parse it like it was JSON data, and it was erroring out. So this is somewhere where we might want to do a try and accept, but also there's something else we've learned about, and that we just set ourselves here. Those custom status codes. Those custom status codes. They're so popular and so powerful indeed that if you do r dot and type in status, you'll see status code shows up. And this will just tell you straight up what the status code is, right? It will be an integer value of what that status code is. Do not, please, do not rely on what is returned to you. Whether it says return was successful or failed, that is not a reliable thing to rely on. Text data, all right? Do not rely on that. Do not make your servers rely on that at all, because that text could change at any moment. And it doesn't actually tell you what was wrong to a certain capacity. They could maybe always just give you a generic message like something happened, all right? You want to look at the status codes. So for example, if things were successful, we want to then maybe do a printout. So instead, we should make our logic on if statements and then looking at that status code. What status code? Well, 200 means everything was successful. So if there was a 200 request, that means things were successful, and we should print out the results. So if we rerun this, you'll see we get nothing printed out now. Let me clear this and rerun it again. You'll see nothing gets printed out because we did not get a successful result because we sent it bad data. All right. So this will save us from getting a potential error. If you're making this as a terminal-based tweeting application, this is where you might want something like a while loop in place, where if it's not 200, keep trying to tweet and tell them that they got an error wrong or they did something wrong. So for example, we could wrap this in like a while loop. All right. Well, I'm not going to wrap it in a while loop. It's just kind of the concept of it. But we can do like an else statement here that says print you gave bad input, right? And you can see now that we'll see you gave bad input. And if you want, you can be more precise and do a print of the r.status code so they can see what status code they were given. And do not do r.json here unless you know for a fact they're supposed to give you JSON data. If anything, you should be doing r.text, because text will just return the raw data that was sent back. So if it was HTML data or some other non-JSON data, this will not error out. So if we return this, you'll see this prints out that we got a 400 message. This was the potential message that was given to us, and you gave bad input. All right. An example of why this is a safer way is if we were returning something that was, for example, like a string, you messed up. All right. And we reran this. You'll see that we get a 400 message and it says you messed up. But if we tried to do JSON, we're going to get a boo-boo here. We're going to get a boo-boo because you messed up is not valid JSON data. That is a string. That is not JSON, right? So this is going to freak out because it's going to try to make it into a Python dictionary because it's expecting JSON data, but it's not. So it freaks out, and that's why you get this JSON decode error, because it's trying to decode it into JSON, and it was like, oh, wait. This doesn't make any sense. This is not JSON. What are you trying to have me do here? All right, so it's going to freak out. This is where you may want to try and accept. All right, I don't know what your program is or what's going on with it, but you can always use a try and accept anywhere. So we could try to originally print it out as JSON or parse it out as JSON. And if that doesn't work, we could have an accept here that instead will print it as r.text. All right. So another way you can use a try and accept, right? You can use a try and accept. So try to do this. If it doesn't work out very well, then instead just print the text. And if we rerun our program now, you'll see that it works. All right. Because this did error out, but we handled it very gracefully. We handled it gracefully, and instead of having our program freak out and crash, we instead printed just the text version of it. All right, we handle it gracefully. So try and accepts are very, very important, especially when you're dealing with servers and sending stuff over the interwebs, because the interwebs are very unreliable at times. You're also not relying on your own computer and your own code to an extent. You're relying on a server somewhere else that who knows where it is. It might be in the same country or it might be in a completely different country, and it's ran by other people. That server may go down. If it ever goes down, you want to make sure you're not airing out and doing, having a bunch of crazy stuff going on and crashing and etc. etc. Imagine you're playing GTA or something, right? Or whatever game you like playing. Imagine if you were playing in an offline mode, right? I don't even know if GTA has an offline mode, but imagine you were playing in offline mode. So you're not really connected to the server, but the game usually connects to servers in the background to keep like the GTA servers updated or whatever servers you're on. And then those servers crashed. But the game was made so poorly, or whatever app you're using was made so poorly, that since the servers went down and it's always communicating with the servers, even if you're in offline mode, your game crashes. Even though your game isn't per se online, it still crashes. That would be very, very annoying. And your customers would be very pissed off at you. All right, I'm using a game example, but this could go for anything. All right, this is where you want to make sure you're using try accepts and never trust servers, because you just can't. You can never trust them. You don't know what's going on with them. All right. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. I will show you guys an example live here of us using GPT, pinging out to their API, and then using that in our code here to enhance our code, right? So now we can brand that we're using machine learning and we're so cool and we're using AI, the cutting edge, blah, blah, blah. All right. So let's go ahead and go through that example. Give me 1 second to get some codes here. OpenAI.com. Where's the sign in button? What the heck? Their sign in button's gone. What the heck? Where is the sign in button? It's gone. How do I open AI dashboard. Will this... What the heck is going on here? Why? Why are things breaking? What is with... Okay, there we go. I got somewhere that's working. Okay. That was really weird. All right. Look, I'm not kidding you guys. Look, their site. There's no sign-in button. There's no sign-in button here. It's just search. And then if you go to product, it's like overview. There's nothing here for signing in. There was a sign-in button. They just changed that. It was just messing me up there for a little bit. Okay. So let's go here. API keys. Let's create a new API key. Let's grab that. All right. I'm going to make a new file here called the API key. And we're going to go ahead and hide this. Hopefully I don't accidentally open this up, because you guys don't need to see that API key. I might want to change that to an env instead. All right. So let's see here. Make a new file. We'll call this openai.py. All right. So we want to make a program using OpenAI, GPT, whatever you want, ChatGPT. We're just going to use normal GPT. All right. We're going to use normal GPT. So let us bring up our web browser here. And next thing we want to do is go to the OpenAI's API. All right. So we got to go look at their API. And let's see what we can do here. So let's explore the API for developers. We're not doing... Okay. Wow, they really changed a lot of this stuff. Give me the... Here we go. Here's the old docs. All right, we just want to do text completion. So we'll scroll down. They'll have usually lots of descriptions, but somewhere you'll see some type of example code somewhere. All right. So if we keep scrolling down, please show me some example code somewhere. Okay, we don't want... We want prompt. Example. Why are you... Okay, API reference. We're going to go even further down. API reference completion. Here we go. All right, here's some code examples. Now, some of these APIs that are more robust and bigger and have big budgets will have a nicer documentation setup like this. By nicer documentation, they will support multiple languages and curl, which is a pre-built terminal function. In these little boxes where you see curl, there's a little drop down here. And you're going to want to look at the languages they have here supported. There's Node.js and Python. So we're going to click on Python. And there we go. This is the code that we need. So we're going to copy, paste this. You're going to need to pip install OpenAI, which I already have installed. So pip install OpenAI. We'll press enter and just make sure that's installed. And this is pretty much as easy as it is to hit their API. But what happened to the ones that we showed earlier, where you have to do request.post and all of that other jazz? You're right, you still do. They're doing it automatically in these functions they pre-created for you. So they pre-made code in Python for you to use that will automatically do these. If you want to see them, if we hold down Control and go look at the create function they have here, we can go see their code. So this is the code that they wrote. And in here somewhere, you will most likely see their request out, which this doesn't have. Sometimes the code isn't like that simple. Let's look at the create here. Here we go. So if we look in here, come on, give me something here. Here we go. Requester, our request. This is a post request, right? This is not the request library that we were looking at before. This is a different library. But like I said, there's lots of different ways to go about doing your requests. So they're using requester library, this rQuest thing, and then this post means it's a post request, right? So this is how they're querying out. They're automatically doing all of this for you. So you have a nice small little package here. So in here, you're going to see there's some required items like model, prompt, max tokens, and temperature. What are these? These are all parts of the JSON data that you send. So where's our server? our JSON data for tweeting required, we required something called a tweet. All right, they require some stuff also. They require multiple items. So if we go back to it, you'll see they require multiple items, not just quote unquote tweet per se. They require model, prompt, max token, and temperature. All right, and they'll tell you all of this here, and they'll tell you right here. Technically, I guess all of this is just labeled as optional, except for this first one. Model is required. And if you want to see what models exist, they have a link right here for seeing all the models that exist. So if we look at that list of models, there's even a function we can call called OpenAI model.list that will tell us where all the models are. So they're telling us just to go ahead and do that in order to see all our models, which I didn't want to do, but whatever. So the only thing that we're missing is this needs to be our OpenAI key. All right, our OpenAI key. And this is, we don't have that set up as an env variable. So give me 1 second. Can I just rename this to .env? Hopefully that worked. And actually I need to change this to be equal to key equals, or API key equals. All right, let's see if this works. API key. Did I name it that? No, it's just one word. All right, so I'm gonna comment this part out and see if this works. So let's go ahead and just do Python OpenAI, and it looks like it worked. We didn't get an error. So it looks like it worked. All right. So let's do something simple before we send out this request. Let's do this other request right here to get a list of all the models. So if we run this one, we should be getting a list of all the models. This doesn't look like it would print all of them. It looks like it's going to return a list or a dictionary to us. So if we rerun this, we shouldn't see anything on the terminal, which we don't. We don't get an error either, which means we're good on the API key. But that means we need to print out this list. So let's go ahead and print out this list. And there we go. We're getting our first little error. Partially initialized module OpenAI has no attribute model. All right, no attribute model. OpenAI dot. Most likely due to circular import. All right, that's the other fun thing you got to mess with is is things not working out. I'm not sure if it's just not working out or it's not actually doing our API key here correctly. Let's go ahead and see if we can do our completion here. So create is going to return us a dictionary or a list, or potentially a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and just save this off. We'll just call this data, and we'll print below print data. And let's rerun this, and it looks like that is all messed up. I wonder if I need to do pip install OpenAI tac upgrade. Okay, I think the key might not be working for us. So what I'll do instead is what they call a non-pro gamer move. Right? What they call a non-pro gamer move. Let me try this real quick. That is not working either. Are you kidding me? Partially initialize. Okay, these are pip install wrong. Let's go to introduction here. Quick start. Maybe it's not called OpenAI. That's for npm Python I don't want the requirements file. Where is the requirement inside of this? All right. I never said that it's fun or easy messing with, yeah, it's just called OpenAI. I never said it was fun or easy messing with this stuff. All right. It's just something that you can do. Sometimes things just don't work. All right. It's actually more common than you would want to believe. Way more common, sadly. This is literally the code they generated for us, and it's not working. The alternative is we just don't need to use their code. We can use just requests. All right, we can just use requests instead and make a request. All right, which is what I'm about to do here in a second. All right, so if their stuff doesn't work, let me just make sure this thing is working. Print. I just want to make sure we're getting the key here. That says none. Where is this? Are you kidding me? Copy. I'm about to make a non-pro gamer move, so you guys better be fast. Fast fingers here. What is going on here? Even I'm confused. Okay. So their stuff is messing up. So instead we're going to do a non-pro gamer move here. Do not do this in your stuff, in anything that you push up to get, right? Anything that you push up to get, do not do this. There you guys go. There's my API token. All right. Don't charge up my credit card too much. I'm about to delete this if it doesn't work. All right. So we can go ahead and instead utilize this endpoint right here. So let's first get some models. So if we do our requests, so import requests. All right. Let's go ahead and copy our code here from before. Some of you guys might be wondering what an API token even is. It's basically like your username and password all in one thing, right? So this is like username and password to my account. And if you have it, it gives you the keys to my credit card billing on my account. All right. You get these all the time as a developer. So when you interact with these APIs, people know who you are and what you're doing, and they can track you for billing. So instead of running those, we can instead just hit the endpoints just straight up. So let's do r.text. I know we're supposed to get JSON data, but we'll do r.text instead just to be safe. So let's do our Python OpenAI. All right, sweet. So it says here we got a proper response. So we hit their endpoint. It wants us to do our bearer token properly. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. Headers, header equals auth. What is this called? Authorization. Don't really. I'm not going to explain this part too much right now. But this is an authentication way to hit some of these, to hit endpoints. Again, when you want to do billing stuff. Headers plural equals. There we go. So we just successfully hit OpenAI's endpoint, and we got a list of all of the models that are available. A lot of DaVinci stuff. So this is a way we could see all of the models we can use. Utilizing this method, we're good on models. We want to go do some auto text completion. So instead we can use this endpoint, and it's a post request. All right. And we can send it things like model, prompt, etc., etc. So instead we can comment this one out because we don't want to do this anymore. This is the URL we want to go to. I'm going to just save it right there. Let's run this. This is supposed to be a post request. we got to go to this URL when we make this post request. And they're expecting some JSON data. Remember, Python dictionaries can be used for that JSON data. So that, let's call it our request data equals, all right? Request data equals, and we need to send it a prompt. I'll put this right here. So we need something called a prompt. And this is going to be, I don't know, what is water? All right, what is water? Let's do another thing called model, and this is going to be Text DaVinci 3 by default. All right, and then we can do max tokens. So for me, I'm going to set max tokens here equal to 255 instead. And then finally we got temperature. I'm pretty sure the default temperature is supposed to be more like 0.7, so let's do that instead. So that's just taking this data here, and pretty much you can look at this one here since we're not using that to figure out what we should be doing. And we can just make our request here. So we're going to just print back, because it says right here we should be getting JSON data response, but we can always play it safe and just do text. So let me exit this. So now we can go ahead and run this request, and we need to cd in the APIs folder because this thing got all messed up. Python OpenAI, and you must provide model parameter. What? Text DaVinci 3 model parameter. Oh, we didn't add the data here. So this data is supposed to go into data or JSON. We're sending JSON, so we're going to send it as JSON. JSON equals this. So let's rerun this. And look at that. We got our response from OpenAI, and it sent it twice, I guess. It says that water is a transparent, tasteless, odorless, nearly colorless chemical substance, blah, blah, blah. And then from the other one, there you go. So this is a way you can use APIs in your code to enhance it. Right? You can do stuff like this to enhance it. And now you can add stuff like ChatGPT right into your code, in your program, in your application. All right? This requires, again, a knowledge of the foundations of networking, of those URLs and URI knowledge, all right? Of knowing a little bit about HTTP and how that works, all right? In this case, also for the header stuff, but we're not going to talk about that too much in this course. Let me pull up the chat stuff. Where is YouTube's? Any questions you guys got so far? Exceptions are the worst. They sometimes are the worst. I agree. There we go. Just remove that API key so it's no longer valid. So don't even try typing it in. It's not going to even work. All right. It's not even going to work. What questions do you guys have before we end this? All right, before we end this. While you guys ask your questions, just quick recap for today. We learned about post requests. It's a way to send data. It's a little bit more heavy than a get request. That's why they're not used all the time. They're only used when you want to submit data to a server, right? And APIs can add a lot of functionality to your code, right? And you can always use an API straight up. You don't need to use the pre-built-in libraries that you get from people like OpenAI. You can just make your own from scratch using stuff like requests. All right? Adds a lot of extra functionality to you, especially when you have a server going on. You can then send data to don't even worry about copying this, because this isn't even going to work for you. You guys can copy this. You're just going to need to replace this API key with your own. So you're going to need to make an account with OpenAI and then just replace that with the new key that you make. For again, supporter chat, all this will be put in the supporter chat. So anyone that is a Patreon or Discord premium member, you will get all this code with documentation. So again, posts, sending data, you can use at the server, save it off to a database like a text file or an actual proper database, and then you can make a server that's more interactive, right? Super useful. Additionally, try and accept are a way that you can handle errors gracefully, because you don't want stuff to just be crashing. You don't want stuff to be just crashing. You tell us that now. I'm halfway through. That's why I was trying to hide it in the first place, because this is basically a password, a username and a password all in one. All right, that's what an API key is. So I don't want you guys using my stuff. So it is, I just turned this key off, so it's no longer valid. You have to replace it with your own key. All right. Look, we're running a charity, but we're not running like that much of a charity, all right? We're just struggling to make ends meet right now, all right? Kote keeps asking for a pay raise. I can't afford to pay that man more, right? All right. So tomorrow, well, I guess for the challenge today, just again, mess with making more endpoints, mess with making some post ones, just have some fun with it, right? Have some fun with it, mess around with it, make some stuff, all right? So for tomorrow, let's, we went over posts, we went over get. I guess let's talk about databases tomorrow. All right. Tomorrow we'll start with databases. We're going to start with MySQL databases. So SQL style databases. So I'll need you guys to download some software. Just trying to think of what we're going to use. I'll put in the 100 days of Rootkit chat. All right, what to download. Download it before the stream tomorrow. We'll also show you tomorrow what it is, so anyone that's watching online can go ahead and download it. Most likely we're going to use be just really great if you guys all had Docker set up, but that's too many wild cards. Does dbeaver have... I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. We could use SQLite, actually. We could use SQLite. I'll figure it out. We're going to use a SQL database tomorrow. All right, what that SQL database will be, we'll figure out tomorrow together. All right, I'll put it most likely in the 100 days Rootkit chat. Download it if it is a downloadable. And we're going to learn about databases. We're going to learn about databases and how easy they are to use and how potentially complex they can get. All right, we're going to scratch a little bit of the surface. We could use Postgres also. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. We're just going to scratch the surface a little bit. We're going to teach you about databases, the basics of it, and how to make some tables and connect them together. We're going to go over a little bit of proper architecture for your database data design, but we're not going to go too much into it. If you are interested into learning more of it, I believe we have a recorded class from some of the advanced database classes we've given. All you need to pass the exam, potentially, is basic database knowledge, how to set one up and get it up and running and connect to it, and etc. All right. Additionally, for most jobs that you'll enter into, you're not going to be tasked with any crazy database setting up. Someone more senior than you will be setting it up in more proper way, and then you can learn over time, because that's something through trial and error you kind of learn over time how to potentially set it up properly. I mean, you could learn it from classes, but it's not required for the pro stuff, right? The pro stuff is not required for the exam. We'll start that tomorrow. Most likely it will go for 2 days. Then we'll talk about NoSQL databases, and we'll do the same thing all over again with NoSQL databases. Then we'll come back to Flask and integrate an application with the database and fully make our word guessing game with the database. So what we'll do with the database is we'll have it so people play the word guessing game, and then when they finish the game, their high score will now be saved to a database that then anyone around the world can potentially query your server and get the results of all of the high scores for the game. All right? That's what we'll be working up to. Any questions on that before we end the stream today? I'm gonna wait another 30 seconds to see if there are any other questions. All right, I don't see any other questions. So if you guys do have any questions, just put them in the 100 Days of Rootkit chat. That's all I got for you guys. So I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next one.